The footsteps didn't rush. That was the worst part. They took their time, each step pressing downward through the space between floors, through beams and concrete, and whatever thin rules once kept things separate. I felt them inside my skull before I heard them. A pressure, a weight, like gravity had decided to lean in my direction. The man below me screamed. It was short, sudden, cut off like a wire snapped. Then there was silence again. Not peace, not relief. Waiting. I tried to move. My legs didn't respond the way they used to. Every motion felt delayed, as if my body had to ask permission first. I staggered backward until my shoulders hit the wall. The apartment seemed smaller now, lower, like the ceiling had dropped an inch without anyone noticing. Then I felt it, a pull, downward, not on my body, on my attention. I knew without being told that it was closer than it had ever been, not above, not below, aligned. The air shifted, the light dimmed, not because a bulb went out, but because the room itself seemed to turn away from it. And then I heard something new, my own footsteps. But I wasn't moving. They echoed from somewhere else in the building, somewhere just out of sight, perfectly matched in rhythm, in weight, like a rehearsal. I covered my ears. It didn't help. The sound wasn't traveling through air anymore. It was traveling through structure, through the idea of the building, through me. I understood then what the old man meant. You don't stop it, you pass it on. It wasn't hunting randomly. It was looking for someone who could hold it, someone who could stand in the space between, someone who could walk. The floor beneath my feet creaked. I felt a response above me, then below, like a call and answer. The building breathed. I don't know how long I stood there. Minutes, hours, years. Time had loosened its grip. Then the door behind me opened. I hadn't touched it. A hallway stretched out where my living room should have been. Long, narrow, wrong. Ceilings stacked above ceilings. Floors layered below floors. Footsteps echoed from every direction. Not chasing, inviting. I stepped forward. The building reacted. Somewhere, someone else froze in their bed, staring at a ceiling that should have been empty. Somewhere else, a phone started recording. I felt it all. With each step I took, the pressure eased. The fear didn't disappear, but it settled, found a place to live. At the end of the hallway was a door, plain, unmarked. I knew what was on the other side. Not an exit, a position. I opened it and felt the ceiling settle above me, felt the floor firm beneath my feet, felt the footsteps stop. For the first time since this began, everything was quiet. I live on the top floor now. Someone always does. When you hear footsteps above your ceiling, when the timing is too precise, when the sound feels like it knows you, don't look up, don't call out, and whatever you do, don't stay too long, because one day the footsteps won't be above you anymore. They'll be waiting for you to walk. I thought becoming still would stop it, that once I took my place, once the pressure settled and the footsteps went quiet, everything would finally make sense. I was wrong. The silence didn't last. It never does. It started with a feeling, a tug, not fear, not panic, curiosity, from below. I felt it the same way you feel someone staring at you from across a room, without seeing them. A subtle awareness, a presence pressing upward. Someone was listening. The building changed its tone. A faint vibration ran through the floor, through the walls, through the places where sound shouldn't travel. Then came the first step, below me, slow, careful, uncertain, the same way mine had been. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to hear it, but the footsteps weren't meant for ears anymore. They moved through alignment, through structure, through expectation. Every step the person below took echoed inside me. I knew where they were. I knew when they stopped. I knew when they tilted their head and whispered to themselves that it had to be pipes, that old buildings made noise. I had told myself the same thing once. The time came back. 1:43 a.m., like a scar reopening. I felt the question rise up from below, unspoken, but heavy. Why doesn't this place make sense? The building leaned toward them. So did I. I tried to warn them. The sound that left my mouth wasn't a voice. It was a shift, a subtle adjustment in pressure that traveled downward and wrapped itself around their ceiling. They froze. I felt it. Their heart racing, their breath catching, their phone lifting from the bed, recording. The footsteps above their ceiling began. Not walking, teaching. I didn't choose where they fell. I didn't decide the rhythm, but I felt relief with every step. The weight was moving, passing. Something inside me resisted. A part that remembered fear. A part that remembered running barefoot into the night. It screamed for me to stop, but the building didn't listen to screams. It listened to balance. Cracks formed below. I felt them like tension leaving my joints. Hairline fractures spreading, dust falling. The same pattern, the same lesson. I realized then what the old man never said out loud. You don't pass it on to escape. You pass it on to survive. The footsteps below grew heavier, more confident. They started pacing, back and forth, learning the shape of their room, learning where they slept, where they waited. For a moment, just one, I felt light, almost human, almost free. Then I felt it again, above me, a pressure I hadn't noticed before. Something patient, something older, listening, waiting for me. I looked up. I shouldn't have. The ceiling didn't move, but the space beyond it did, shifting, making room, preparing. That's when I understood the truth. No one ever survives long enough to explain. There is never just one above. There is a chain, and it only moves in one direction. The footsteps started again, above my ceiling, slower than mine, heavier than mine, perfectly timed, and somewhere below me someone whispered into the dark, "I live on the top floor." I stood still. I listened, and I waited. I stopped trying to count the steps. Numbers stopped working here. Time did too. All that mattered was the distance between sounds. How long the pause was before the next foot fell. How much the building seemed to bow under it. The footsteps above me weren't exploring. They knew exactly where they were, exactly where I was. The pressure increased slowly, like something testing how much the structure could hold. Each step pressed the ceiling lower, not visibly. I felt it in my lungs, in the way breathing took effort now. Below me, the other footsteps continued. The person beneath me had learned the rhythm. I could tell. They were pacing with purpose now, not fear. The building hummed, satisfied, balanced, for the moment. I pressed my palm against the ceiling. It was warm, not from heat, from presence. Something leaned back, acknowledged me. A sound came through the concrete, not a voice, a shape trying to be one. "You're late." The words didn't belong to sound. They belonged to pressure, to alignment snapping into place. I understood without replying. Something above me had been waiting, for me to settle, for the chain to hold. The ceiling flexed. A crack formed, not spreading outward, but inward, folding space like paper. I saw movement through it, not a body, a suggestion, a shadow where mass shouldn't exist. Memories surfaced that weren't mine. Other buildings, other ceilings, other people standing still, convinced they were safe because they were on the top floor. I felt their fear, then felt it leave them, passed downward, passed on. The footsteps above grew closer. Each step landed directly over my chest. Perfect alignment. I couldn't move. Didn't want to. Movement felt unnecessary now. The person below stopped pacing. They had felt it too. They knew. A phone lifted. A breath caught. A whisper formed. I felt the words before they were spoken. "Hello?" The ceiling above me sighed. The sound rolled through the building like relief. The crack widened. Space bent. Something reached through, not touching, not breaking, just existing where it wasn't meant to. The footsteps stopped. Above me, below me, everywhere. For a single unbearable second, the building held its breath. Then the weight shifted, upward. The pressure on my chest lifted. The crack sealed. The warmth faded. The footsteps returned, but not above me anymore. They were far away now, moving on, looking for the next place to settle. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, shaking, suddenly aware of my body again. I was still here, still holding my place, still part of the structure. Somewhere below, someone screamed. Somewhere else, a ceiling answered. I didn't move. I couldn't afford to, because I knew the truth now. The worst part isn't hearing footsteps above your ceiling. It's realizing that one day, they'll leave. And when they do, something else will need to take their place. When the footsteps left, the silence felt wrong. Too open, too empty, like a breath held too long after the lungs are already full. I waited. That's what you do when you understand your place. You wait. Days passed, maybe weeks. Down below, life continued. I could hear it faintly. Voices, televisions, water running through pipes. Normal sounds, human sounds. But the building never stopped listening. Neither did I. Then one night, the time returned. 1:43 a.m. It always comes back. The first step landed above me. Not heavy, not careful, new. I felt it hesitate, felt the uncertainty in the weight, the slight imbalance. Someone else. The chain tightened. The building adjusted. I understood immediately. It had chosen. I felt the fear above me, raw and sharp. The same fear I once had. The same thoughts. This can't be real. I'm on the top floor. There's nothing above me. I wanted to warn them. I swear I did. But warnings don't survive this place. They turn into sounds, into pressure, into footsteps. Below me, the person I had passed it to went quiet. They had learned fast, too fast. The building liked that. The footsteps above me began to pace, back and forth, learning. I felt something settle into me, a heaviness, a certainty. I realized then what top floor really means. It doesn't mean highest, it means last. The ceiling above me pressed downward, not to crush, to confirm. I pressed upward in return. The building locked us together, perfectly aligned. Somewhere far below, a new tenant whispered into the dark, "I hear footsteps above my ceiling." I stood still. I listened. And for the first time since this began, I didn't feel afraid, because the chain was complete, and the footsteps were no longer moving.